One major development going on now involves more to do with Rachel Zegler and her attitude towards South Park Studios and Paramount after learning about what they are planning for their upcoming special called the DEI Special.
No, make it more lame. That is exactly what they're doing. And that is why we hate the diversity, equity, and inclusion casting and writing in movies.
The last time I had the dream, I was walking down the school hallway, and that's when I started to notice that something's wrong. Everyone I cared about has been systematically replaced. And finally, I want to scream, and I'm like, why are they replacing every single character with someone who is diverse?
In an era where satire can go viral in seconds and careers can be made, or broken, by the echo chamber of the internet, one controversy stands out as a culture-shifting collision between comedy and celebrity. It all began with a cartoon. A cartoon that, true to its roots, poked fun at a public figure. But this time, the joke didn't land as just another outrageous moment in South Park's long-running legacy. No, this time, the punchline struck deep, and the fallout became the stuff of Hollywood legend. The episode that sparked it all was South Park's DEI Special, a not-so-subtle jab at the diversity, equity, and inclusion movement sweeping through modern entertainment. In their usual over-the-top fashion, creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone crafted a surreal fever dream of a parody, with Rachel Zegler, best known for her controversial role in Disney's upcoming Snow White remake, at the center of it all. In the episode, the animated Rachel strutted through a pastel kingdom, smartphone in hand, tossing out buzzwords and firing shots at outdated fairy tale tropes. The caricature was sharp, absurd, and unapologetically brutal. But somewhere in Los Angeles, the real Rachel Zegler was watching. And she wasn't laughing. What followed was a legal curveball no one saw coming. Within days, headlines exploded across TMZ, Variety, and Deadline. Rachel Zegler, through her legal team, filed a staggering $100 million defamation lawsuit against the creators of South Park. Her claim that the episode had crossed the line from parody into outright slander, that the depiction of her as an entitled diva responsible for a cinematic train wreck wasn't just mean, it was career-ending. The industry froze. This wasn't just another celebrity tantrum, it was war. On one side, a rising actress trying to shed the stigma of a box office flop, desperate to reclaim control of her public image. On the other, two of the most fearless satirists in television. History, men who had gleefully mocked everyone from Tom Cruise to Muhammad. But this time, they weren't facing religious zealots or powerful cults. They were up against the new cultural consensus: sensitivity, accountability, and image control. At first, Parker and Stone said nothing. For once, the kings of no-filter comedy remained radio silent. But behind the scenes, they were anything but quiet. Sketches were drafted, musical numbers were brainstormed. Titles like Sue Me Gently floated across the whiteboards. Still, their lawyers warned them, don't feed the fire. For now. Meanwhile, Rachel's side wasn't backing down. The lawsuit accused the show of deliberately tanking her casting. Opportunities. Studios, according to the filings, began to hesitate. One even pulled out of negotiations, citing recent public sentiment as a concern. Zegler's team argued that the episode created a caricature so damning, so convincing to the average viewer, that it blurred the line between satire and sabotage. And yet, this wasn't just about career opportunities. Friends close to Rachel described her as emotionally drained, oscillating between fierce determination and quiet exhaustion. She believed deeply that if she didn't act now, the cartoon would become her legacy. The internet is unforgiving, and memes last longer than memories. She wasn't just suing for damages, she was suing to take her story back. Social media erupted. Hashtags like #NunkTeamRachel and #TeamSouthPark turned Twitter into a digital battleground. Late-night talk shows picked it up, joking about the Princess vs. Paper Cutouts case. Commentators were split. Some hailed Zegler as brave, a woman standing up against unchecked ridicule. Others saw her as thin-skinned, trying to silence comedy with a lawsuit. Then came the courtroom drama. The judge, amid intense media coverage, refused to dismiss the case outright. Instead, he ruled that a jury should decide whether the South Park parody could reasonably be interpreted as fact. It was a blow to Parker and Stone, but not a knockout. They'd faced worse. What mattered now was the trial. Opening statements were theatrical. Rachel's attorneys painted a portrait of a promising young artist, publicly humiliated by a portrayal so vicious, it stopped feeling like satire. The animation, they claimed, showed her draining production budgets, demanding creative control, and delivering a self-aggrandizing monologue about modern princesses. All of it wrapped in mocking musical numbers. But the defense struck back with humor and history. They pointed to the absurdity of the show itself: talking towels, singing feces, and a town where logic was constantly suspended. This is a cartoon, the defense argued. It's not a documentary. When Parker and Stone took the stand, they were their usual selves, irreverent, clever, and unapologetic. They described their creative process as finding the ridiculous in reality and turning it up to 11. "We don't report the news," Trey said. "We mock the way people react to it." Then it was Rachel's turn. Her testimony was raw. She spoke of waking up to thousands of tweets, meme compilations, and hate mail. She described the fear of being permanently labeled that difficult actress, the one who couldn't take a joke. And she wasn't alone. Media experts, economists, and even casting directors were called to testify about how portrayals, yes, even satirical ones, can have devastating effects in the industry. The jury deliberated for 10 tense days. In the end, they returned with a verdict that would ripple through Hollywood. Parker and Stone were not liable. The episode, the court ruled, was exaggerated to the point that no reasonable viewer could take it as a factual depiction. Satire had prevailed, but this wasn't a clean win for anyone. Rachel Zegler, though disappointed, earned respect for fighting back. Her indie film, ironically shot during the lawsuit's chaos, was well received. Critics praised her vulnerability, her talent, her refusal to be just another meme. For Parker and Stone, it was vindication, yes, but also a wake-up call. Their next South Park episode opened with a tongue-in-cheek dedication. "To everyone who's ever wanted to sue us, thanks for watching." The jokes continued, but with a slight shift in tone. Still sharp, still fearless, but perhaps a touch more aware of the weight their work carried. Disney, though never named in the lawsuit, quietly adjusted its internal policies. Reports surfaced that memos referencing the South Park parody had been deleted, scrubbed from official threads. The company, it seemed, preferred the shadows. The real impact, however, wasn't in courtrooms or streaming deals. It was in the conversation. The debate this trial sparked will echo for years to come. Where does parody end and defamation begin? Should public figures be fair game for ruthless satire, or do they deserve protection too? It's a tightrope. And every creator, every actor, every viewer walks it, whether they know it or not. Because this story wasn't just about one actress or one cartoon. It was about what kind of culture we're building. A culture where jokes land hard and consequences linger, where memes shape reputations and laughter sometimes comes at a real cost. And maybe, just maybe, the question we should be asking isn't, did South Park go too far? But, are we listening to the people behind the punchlines? If this story gripped you, if you've ever wondered how far is too far when it comes to humor, or if you just love the chaotic crossroads of pop culture and controversy, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. We're diving deep into the stories that shake Hollywood to its core. Next up, another feud you won't believe. Stay curious, stay critical, stay tuned.